Hi there. In this tutorial, we're going to continue our previous process of using data from historical income statements to derive value drivers that we're going to use to forecast our data for the future. In this tutorial, we're going to look at calculating our sales growth rate. And our sales growth rate basically is the rate at which our sales have grown and which we think they're going to grow going into the future. And in order to do that, we're going to look at total revenue, because total revenue, as you know, basically is a measure of sales. So I'm going to enter a line between total revenue and cost of revenue, otherwise known as cost of goods sold. And I don't want to enter it along my whole line here. Where I want to enter it instead is only above that one particular row in my income statement. So here I'm going to call this sales growth rate. And I'm putting a line in my income statement, but I want to know that that line is not part of the income statement, right? It's just a placeholder. It's something that I'm using to calculate a value driver, right? So I'm calling it sales growth rate. I'm going to italicize it and align it to the right. So I've got a right side alignment in italic font. And that way I know when I'm looking at it later that it's just something that I'm using for my calculations. So the sales growth rate formula, or any growth rate, right, you remember from before, is going to be equal to a new value divided by the old value minus 1. So if I enter that formula and I click return, I get $1. I get $0, right? The sales grew at the rate of $0. Well, as you can probably tell, that's an absurd answer, right? What we want is a percentage. We don't want a dollar amount. So I'm going to turn it into the percentage, and then I'm going to add 2 decimal places, because when we're looking at growth rates, it's not that meaningful to know 5%. I mean, it tells us something, but that really means anywhere between 4.5% and 5.49%. So I'm going to give myself 2 decimal places so that I know where I actually stand, or where this firm stands, or stood. So for the next year, we've got our new value divided by our old value again, minus 1. And again, this time I'm going to have to change it to show a percentage with 2 decimal places. I can't do anything for this year for 2011, because this number 5.61 represents growth in sales from 2011 to 2012, while this one represents growth from 2012 to 2013. I don't have a year of 2010, so I can't calculate anything in here. However, I can calculate the average of those 2 years. And I'm going to use that average so that number sign is coming up and it won't go away. So I'm going to enter it again as the average of 4.85 and 5.61. What had happened is that I had clicked in too many cells. So 5%, but you know better. Add a couple decimal places, call it 5.23%, and enter that in as our sales growth rate. And that's what you're going to do to project your sales growth, and that's what you're going to use to forecast your financial statements into the future. Happy calculating. Always email if you have any questions.